We have the recording in progress. We'll start our IDA meeting a couple minutes after 11. Jim has asked me to chair the meeting today. He had to take himself off to Bassett Hospital for some heart issues he needs to have figured out. So we'll get started. At some point this morning, we will have Nick Fitzpatrick of Aiden Mining and his attorney, a gentleman named Walter Grigliani.
Right here.
There they are. Okay. So we'll let them get started so they don't have to sit through the minutes and all the other parts of our meeting.
How you doing? Good. How are you?
We appreciate it.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Got behind lots of slow cars.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. Sure.
Should we shut the door?
Yes. So I brought, yeah, this is the cost benefit analysis that was put on the packet on
Would
the
you like me
Google
to pull it
Drive.
up?
Oh, okay. What?
Would you like me to pull it up?
No, they all have it.
Okay.
So this is a cost benefit analysis. I've done a lot of IDA transactions. I've represented Sullivan IDA for 29 years. Sometimes on a closed like hotel project, you know, where you have a hotel that's sitting there with nobody in it, you can get up to like a 20-to-1 benefits over cost ratio. I've never seen anything like this benefit to cost ratio. And I sort of explain it to myself by saying, you know, when I was a kid growing up and I used to go for my father to pick up bluestone from Johnston and Rhodes, there'd be like trucks and people, and it was like a beehive of activity. And it's gone from like a company town to a ghost town. And I think that Nick Fitzpatrick, who owns Aiden Mining and Materials Inc., will be able to bring it back to what it used to be. That's our hope. Our application is pretty straightforward: sales tax, mortgage tax, and real estate tax benefits. But we did request a deviation. Your UTEP really doesn't work because the property is overassessed at the moment because it's vacant. We don't even know how bad the condition is. I mean, I'll get to that in a minute in terms of timing. But we believe the bankruptcy court allocated more to the real estate than they probably should have, because it's pretty easy to figure out by looking online what a used excavator is worth. So if you take, the way I would have done this is I would have taken Nick's stalking horse bid by the bankruptcy court, which, by the way, is now not a bid anymore.
Yeah, it's accepted.
Why don't you tell them the current status?
Yeah, the judge accepted the contract and cleared the close.
Day before yesterday.
Okay, so we got 30 days to close on that.
Yeah.
Extendable. We're not going to be able to close in 30 days, but it's contingent upon financing, and it's contingent upon approval of benefits from his stalking horse bid is contingent upon getting through this process with your IDA. So the way I would have valued the real estate is, since it's really hard to value real estate when it's got potential issues, when it's got buildings that haven't had any maintenance for a very long time, I would have taken his stalking horse bid and removed from that the components of value that are easy to value. You know, there's 50 pieces of rolling stock, more or less, right?
Yeah.
It's not hard to figure out what a 10-year-old bulldozer with 6,800 hours is worth. And if you do that, you end up with a value of the real estate quite a bit less than the value that was ascribed to the real estate by the bankruptcy court. But our deviation request, you have that component part of the real estate, which is owned by Johnston and Rhodes Bluestone in bankruptcy. And then you've got the piece that's owned by brother Charlie. I guess you probably being up here know Pete and Charlie, I imagine. Mm-hmm. Charlie had a Johnston Forest product. He had a very large piece of timberland in the town of Neversink that he managed for a very long time and had a timber business. When there wasn't anything much left on that piece of property to be cut, it was a 3,150 acre site. There's not much on it bigger around than your wrist at this point. The trees are, you know, they're pretty well gone. So I think he closed that about 10 years ago. and those buildings have been vacant for about 10 years. So our deviation request is to use the negotiated purchase price. Nick negotiated a purchase price with Charlie for the Johnston Forest Products, part of the real estate that's part of this application. And we don't like the allocation the bankruptcy court made. We think it's too high, but we don't see how we could get away from it. So what we're asking for is a base with a freeze at the purchase price level, which is less than the assessed value. And the way your UTEP reads, whether the assessed value is right, wrong, or indifferent, we're stuck with it without a deviation. So what we're hoping for today is some acknowledgement that this is a type 2 action under seeker. We feel very strongly that it is. There's a type 2 list in seeker, and the very first thing on the type 2 list is like the adaptive reuse of existing buildings where you're not building anything new. So we'd like to make sure that you and your council agree with that. And we'd like to get the deviation request sent out to the taxing jurisdictions because there's a time frame for that. And we'd like to get the public hearing on the project, which of course, as you guys know, needs to be held in the town of Hancock, scheduled for whenever you can schedule it for. I realize your next technically scheduled meeting is December 27th, which probably won't happen. But I think we can get an extension from yesterday or day before yesterday for about, I think we can go out as far as 60 days to close. So those are the things we're hoping to accomplish today, is get your agreement that the deviation would be supportable so we can send out a request to the taxing jurisdictions, get some kind of an acknowledgement that the board agrees this is a type 2 action, because if we have to go through seeker, there won't be a closing. We were very careful to not include any new buildings, even though there might be some someday in this application, because if there is, then we would have to go to the town of Hancock Planning Board for site plan approval. There would be a coordinated review. I would expect the town of Hancock Planning Board, assisted by the county planning department, to take the lead on that. That's typically what's been my experience going to the town of Hancock Planning Board. You're shaking your head yes, right? That's how it would work. So that's what we're hoping for today. And then a little color on Nick's business. He can tell you a little bit about himself and his how he got into the aggregate business, and what his plans are for this property.
All right. Well, we did.
Go for it.
All right. Yeah. So Nick Fitzpatrick. I grew up in Sullivan County, actually, town of Neversink, where Walter happens to live, and started my company 25 years ago. Originally buying and selling hay and trucking hay. That's what I did for the first 20 years. About 17 years into that, we really started from zero and worked my way up, made a few land deals, and 6 years ago sold some land and acquired one aggregate quarry in Orange County. Got into the mining and materials business and grew that business to where we have six aggregate quarries in Orange County. 4 quarries and 2 yards. Also operate 2 salt terminals for with Cargill salt contracts to supply road salt safety, which is a big topic today.
Yeah.
And so current company operations, we employ about 100 people in Orange County, and our next expansion opportunity, we're looking for to add another quarry, and had been looking at Johnston Roads for a couple of years, but didn't really see the vision at that time. But this year that kind of became more apparent to me, and I decided that I wanted to get into dimensional stone. So really just kind of was caught by surprise that the company had shut down and gone bankrupt. So I got involved, got interested in it, and I'm pretty excited now about moving our mining and materials business, which is successfully producing and distributing aggregate into 2 more counties. We'll be able to service Delaware and Western Sullivan County from here, but also dimensional stone, which I feel quite passionate about. It's a great product, and I think that we can grow the business. Few things I really like about dimensional stone is the fact that it markets nationwide. So the material can go to California, it can go really all over the world, has significant value. Aggregate complements dimensional stone because in the mining process, we can remove the overburden, crush it for aggregate, and get to the higher value rock. So hoping to kind of bring more efficiency to the business and grow it significantly. So, my long-term vision for the business, the 5 and 10-year goals will really be to make it something we're pretty proud of. So.
Like I said, we didn't include and shouldn't include anything in this application because you don't have a lot of time to close on a bankruptcy court deal. You mentioned 30 days. We're going to be able to get an extension. So we're not going to be needing to ask you to hold special meetings and things, which is common when something's coming out of bankruptcy. We didn't include any new buildings, and Nick won't really know what the plan is for new construction until he actually gets in there. We don't know whether we'll be back here, in March of 2025 saying that, a certain building is in such bad condition, we're better off tearing it down and starting over. He won't know that until he rolls up his sleeves and gets in there and does what he needs to do. There is a plan, we've mentioned it in here, to construct a new building, but it's not part of our application now. He's not sure till he gets in running the business how big a building he's going to need, where on the site it would be best positioned. There's an awful lot of forklift and there's an awful lot of equipment traffic that runs around on a site like this. And whether or not, Pete had it set up in the most efficient way, we don't know. Nick is very good at that type of developing protocols and processes and procedures, and he'll figure that out as he goes. But we're not sure. We don't want to tell you that we'll be back here in 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. So we've asked also in our deviation request for sort of a flexible period, not exceeding 5 years for the freeze period. So if he doesn't do anything in the next 5 years, the freeze would go away. Mm-hmm. We're certainly hoping that he's successful, and we're certainly hoping to be back here sometime in the future with a new building. We're hoping not to be back here in March of 2025, because that would only be if there's something that's bad that we didn't expect, but we're not putting that out of the possibility. When he gets in there, if there's a building that'll be less expensive and more efficient to replace versus repair, the buildings are not in good shape. I don't know if any of you have been down there. I think that there was a period of time when both at the mill sites and at mines, I think Johnston and Rhodes had close to 100 employees. Would you say that's?
With the independent.
Yeah, with the independent quarry mills.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's 0.
The direct employees was as high as 50. And there were, each quarryman usually had, was a 2-person team, and there was at least 30 of those bringing stone in. So, so we really don't know what the future beholds. I mean, and we will be in communication, with Glenn and with Jim. I know Jim from other things. I actually represented your IDA on the railroad transaction that went from Kirkwood to Orange County. Mm-hmm. I represented all the IDAs on that corridor, and also on Millennium. I was involved with all of them. So we just don't. We want to be very transparent. There's things we know and there's things we don't know. Right. And we're sure as hell hoping that the buildings are in good enough shape that there's no emergencies. But if there are, we'll be back sooner than we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you think the equipment's in good enough shape to run, particularly stone saws?
Oh, we're definitely going to be buying more equipment. In fact, I'm already quoting and getting lined up to order like 5 more saws. And as far as rolling, yellow iron equipment, there'll be more, the most of the yellow iron is junk there. So there'll be a lot of scrapping going on and some newer stuff being brought in.
I think we have that as collateral.
Nice, yeah, what's worse?
Yeah, the scrap.
There's a lot of crap collateral.
Yes.
We don't, our sales tax exemption request is smaller than what his expenditures will be because the saws are manufacturing equipment. There's no sales tax.
But the
Most-
yellow iron would not be.
The yellow iron would mostly be manufacturing equipment. Only after the product is thermaled and put on a pallet to be sold, the forklift that picks up a pallet of finished stone and puts it on a truck would be subject to sales tax.
Yeah, but it won't do that much.
Um,
It'll be classified otherwise.
Yeah, the nice part, when I represent clients before IDAs, I tell them that the IDA sales tax exemption letter is like bringing a gun to a knife fight. The sales tax people come in and start breaking chops about, is that distribution equipment where you should have paid sales tax, or is that manufacturing equipment? I did a lot of IDA work for a little company from Atlanta called Coca-Cola. They were on their butt all the time about, is this up to the manufacturing process or is this distribution? And you get into those arguments with these nice folks from the Department of Taxation and Finance, and then you say, here's our IDA sales tax exemption letter. Do you have any other questions for us? And that's the end of it. So we view a sales tax exemption letter from the IDA as a backstop to aggravation. We feel most of the equipment that he's going to buy, certainly everything out in the mines and certainly everything that's moving stone block into the saw buildings and moving sawed stone to where it's going to be thermal, that's all manufacturing. And that's the bulk of what they were doing there. So,
Okay.
do you guys have any questions about?
I have one question, just a
Sure.
clarification on the deviation for the freeze. So the 5-year freeze, but you're contemplating coming back in the next X number of years. So during that the amendment or new project, however you want to do it, you want the freeze to stay in place throughout the term of that? Is that what?
No, we want the freeze to be for up to 5 years, but if we build a new building, we would anticipate applying to the town of Hancock Planning Board for site plan approval. As you guys know, Hancock theoretically doesn't have zoning. What they do is they zone one project at a time through their, instead of having a comprehensive plan and a zoning law, they have one project at a time zoning. We would come back and we would have an adult conversation with you about adding something to the pilot for the new building.
Right.
We'd want the freeze to stay in place for what he's buying now, but if we build a new building and it has a value of $1 million, we would contemplate that he would start making pilot payments on that new value based upon your manufacturing schedule, starting with the first tax roll after the next taxable status date.
Right, and during that 15 years, you would want the freeze to stay
On the
in place.
existing value
On
to
the-
stay.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, yeah,
Correct.
so it's,
I'm sorry we didn't make that.
no, I
crystal
think you
clear.
did, but there was some confusion and Nadine and I were talking about it and she just wanted to
Now,
make sure.
Nadine is participating today or
No,
not?
no, I don't have them come. So I explained, I'm like, because I thought what you put together was very clear, that that's what the intention is.
I thought it was clear.
And
but-
so I said I would clarify, now we're clarified, and so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want to stick with what he's paying for this. I mean, frankly, if he doesn't get the deviation, you guys are more harm than good.
Right,
Because if you make him, if he doesn't get the deviation, we'll bring a tax cert case in May and, we'll have a pretty damn good argument. And we'll have appraisals that show the value is less than the bankruptcy court allocation. Because if you go down there, other than the office, these buildings are in tough shape.
Mhm.
He's gonna have to put a bunch of money in there. Do any of you live in East Branch?
These guys might live pretty close to it.
I went by there yesterday and saw somebody's pickup truck looking at one of the $1 million computer saws. So I'm Mike O'Brien from Hancock, Walter. Haven't seen you in many years.
Hey, Mike,
And really, you know, as far as somebody from Hancock is concerned, is what do we need to do to help you since you have such confidence in our community?
Well, what we need is what we put in the application. We didn't put in more or less than we need. I spent a lot of time with Nick and a lot of time with his financial projections. And, you know, what we need is really to unlock the loans. We've been in communication with lenders. Nick has a loan. He has a loan from Libertyville Capital, which is a private lender. It's not a cheap loan, but it's a loan that he can get quickly because, you know, he could probably bank finance this if he had 9 months, but he doesn't have 9 months when you're buying it out of bankruptcy. So we fully expect to be back here, and I appreciate your wanting to help us. We fully expect to be back here with another mortgage recording tax abatement request when he has to pay off Libertyville Capital. He's borrowing about between 5.5 and 6 million now in total to get going. Once it gets going, he may need more money than that. We haven't asked for anything beyond the initial mortgage recording tax exemption for the mortgages that are going to go in place now. There's the Libertyville Capital loan, and there's a purchase money loan from Bruce Edwards, who, if you guys are from Delaware County, you all probably know Bruce Edwards, right?
Yes.
I don't know. You don't?
Landowner, yeah, just a.
He was the.
He was a partner in the Mallory Group, the lumber group.
He was the Mallory Lumber land guy, right?
Yeah.
And when Mallory Lumber went away, he ended up with a lot of the land. I think he owns many thousands of acres in Delaware County. One of those happens to have a quarry on it, and Nick is buying that from Bruce, paying him half at closing and half by a purchase money mortgage. And then what's the other financing you have? Oh yeah, there's this loan we're hoping the IDA will approve. So there's 3, and I'm assuming you take a subordinate mortgage behind his primary lender as collateral security for that, in addition to the yellow rusty bulldozer. So that's what we need, and I appreciate the fact you want to help. I think we're all going to look back 2 years from now and realize that East Branch is a different place.
Sounds very good.
It does, yep.
So basically, at this point, our first step is all we have to do, there's a resolution in the packet to schedule the public hearing. And then I think beyond that, I think what they're looking for is just assurances that we're gonna agree that it is a type 2 action. And, you know, I would assume that's exactly what we're talking about here.
That's what I.
You know, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. Then as far as, you know, if we're, again, providing the assurance that, you know, we have to notify that we're doing a deviation before we can approve it. But, you know, an assurance that, you know, we believe that the deviation is reasonable. And basically the difference is that per the assessed value, fair market value of the property is like 2.8 million. They're buying it for 1.7. So it's a substantial difference, you know, over $1 million in difference. This is not precedent setting for the IDA. We've done this in the past. It's been a while since we've done it, but we've done it in the past. And, you know, per everything that they've provided in, you know, it's easily warranted, you know.
I mean, I'm definitely.
The cost benefit, yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a process we'll have to go through, but other than that, I mean, I would strongly recommend.
And I will work
Numbers
with,
all work, I don't.
Yeah.
think that's-
I'll work with Nadine in terms of your local process for sending out the deviation notices. I don't know whether you do it or Hudson Russ does.
I try to do it as much as I can, just because of then I know when it's going out.
Okay, it has to be out.
I will talk with
It'll have to be
Nadine.
out 30 days before the public hearing.
Yes.
So the other thing we'd like to be able to tell the bankruptcy court and our lenders is, you know, when could we anticipate a public hearing? Probably from a logical standpoint, can't be until like early in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably try to sneak something in, and I don't mean that in a negative way. You know, in between Christmas and New Year's, that would give us probably technically enough days to do it. But certainly by the first week in January.
That would work for
That
us.
would be what
That
I
that
would
would
be
work
shooting
for us,
for.
and I sometimes have been criticized by people who think that you're sneaking things in when you do it between Christmas and New Year's. It's not a time that the public would participate in a public hearing.
Can't drag into things.
Yeah.
Make it available.
It works for us if it's the beginning.
We had one in Walton.
Yeah, and I had a hearing in
2 weeks ago.
Walton. Yeah,
Nobody
no, just
showed
this
up.
Monday. Nobody showed up.
So,
Well, you will have people who will show up to this public hearing because there are a lot of people who want to go to work for Nick, who will be there telling you that they used to work at Johnston and Rhodes and they'd like a new job with Nick.
So early January isn't a problem with the public hearings, huh?
No, we need to get, I know that there's a process. If you had the public hearing, which I don't know, does the board attend public hearings or?
generally I tend.
Okay, so if we could have the public hearing and then soon thereafter have a special meeting of the board, because we really don't want to go to the last Wednesday or the last Friday of January. That would put us at risk where, we'd have a flat tire problem if we couldn't get to we have a deadline, but it's manageable.
Yeah, and due to the fact that we always have our reorg meeting in January, there have been times where we've moved it up early in the month just to get things in place.
The
So-
LDC says the 15th of the month.
What's that?
The LDC says we have. to
Yeah,
do it.
so, by LDC guidelines, we have to do it by the 15th.
Yeah, but
So, yeah, so
right
we'll-
after the public hearing.
Right,
If
we'll
we did
most
it-
likely do it.
If we did it right, the way I try to handle it for the IDAs I represent is I try to have the public hearing at like 9 o'clock in the morning and then have the board meeting the same day at like 11.
Yeah.
That way it's efficient for applicants and it's efficient for our executive director. And sometimes board members actually even go to the public hearings when it's the same day. But we know that there'll be at least a few people speaking in favor of this project because the people who had long-term jobs at Johnston and Rhodes are excited to go back to work.
I think everybody's in favor of this project.
Yeah.
The numbers all work and it looks great.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
If I may, gentlemen, most of the people is exactly what Walter is saying. They're very keen on this whole project. And I think if you schedule it as soon as you possibly can prudently, I think they would all be very happy. It would make a very happy Christmas that this is moving forward. Just a consideration.
The deviation, so there's a specific letter that needs to go out when we're deviating from our policy. They've already been notified of it. They were invited, all the taxing jurisdictions. They've all been notified. They had the opportunity to come to the hearing. They will, additionally have an ability to express their comment on the proposed deviation.
Mhm.
And then we can weigh those comments.
Okay. All right. Anything else we should know?
We want to be an open book. So if there's anybody that has any questions, Nick will be with me at meetings because I understand a little bit about his business from his explaining it to me like at 40,000 feet, but he's a detailed guy. I was with him one day, we're sitting at a restaurant in Hancock and he looks at his phone and he said, we delivered 800.
8,000.
He had a list on his phone of every truck that went out from every quarry to every customer, 8,000 tons of aggregate in one day.
Do you have the screening equipment and the crusher for the aggregate?
Yeah, we operate 4 crushing spreads right now.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll shift some equipment around to start up here right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're eager to help any business get started. Makes the town successful.
Good.
Okay. Well, we tried to put together a complete application.
Excellent.
So,
Nice job.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, and any questions that pop up, we're eager to,
Yeah, no, I think
free to
everything
ask.
was explained
Like
very well.
Walter said, got absolutely nothing to hide, and just looking to do the right thing and be part of good part of the community too.
So I know you have I know you have a resolution in your packet. We're not gonna wait for you to get to that, but if you would let us know how it goes, how we fared, and if you get me a copy of it so I can pass it along to the lenders in the bankruptcy court, that would be helpful.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys.
So on that,
Thank
I'll
you.
give you a call.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
I probably won't be able to.
Take care. Same here.
Well, I mean, you know, a signed copy. for
Thank you.
email.
Take care, guys.
Monday, but I'm leaving my son. So I'm out of here. Delaware Academy.
Okay, all right, good. Good. My son at Tri Valley got to do that for 4 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Take care, everybody. Thank you all.
Fantastic. Make that come alive again.
They're a big outfit.
One of the Bluestone guys way back in the day told me his grandfather told him when Wall Street is good, everybody wants 4-inch stone. And when Wall Street is bad, everybody wants 2-inch stone, but they still want stone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so we'll get to this here in a little bit, but let's move on to approving the minutes from October 25th.
So moved.
Thank you very much. Any discussion, any corrections? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? So carried. On to the treasurer's report. What's that?
It's so bizarre, so different, you running the meeting versus Jim.
Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. On to the treasurer's report. We are looking at Glenn.
Yeah, so under the IDA, the only thing I wanted to bring attention to is the due from Sheffield Estate or due from LDC. Well, that has been zero. Right? It was a due to the IDA. Oh yeah, that was the receivable.
Right.
Yeah, so that's been zeroed out. The IDA purchased Sheffield Estates. That transaction went through last Friday for the receivable that was due to the IDA. So just we'll touch upon that later again. Under the LDC side, in terms of the dollars, nothing specific to bring your attention to. It is later below, but it's kind of related to the treasury report, so I say it now. I had the agri lending programs on there. I spoke last meeting about how we are, I'll just say, negotiating with JDA about when we want to start paying back our loans to them under agri lending. And so I've sent them a bunch of financial documents looking out into the future. In my mind, it's a no-brainer decision over the operation of the program and what we'd be able to do in the future. So basically this starts with our IRP program. We have a 33-year payback. For this program, it's a 10-year payback. And so I'm just seeking to extend that by an additional 5 years now, with probably other potential extensions in the future. And why it makes sense is why it is an issue is because under the agri lending program where we have $567,000 available to lend, if I pay according to the way they want me to pay, 500,000 of that is immediately gone. And so that's what we're arguing over.
I haven't gotten back to you yet.
No.
There's gonna be logic versus bureaucracy.
Yeah, but so the one thing I hang my hat on, because there's a lot of things I could, get depressed over, is that the people I'm dealing with over this program, they continually say that we are the highest performer in this agri lending program across the state. And my presentation to them was, well, if you want that to continue, this is what I need. And by the way, the loan document that I signed said there is a no cost 5-year extension at your option. So let's exercise that option.
Yeah.
So if the debt has to be paid, if they disagree with where you're headed, is there not agri-lending funds available after that?
Yeah.
I mean, could you go back for another?
Oh, yeah, I can go. And so that's what I told them. I'm like, look. So for you guys, I just want to assure you, either way, we can make our payments. Either way, we can make our payments. I did it all out 2 different ways, the way I want and the way the paper says.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're okay. It's just whether, we've got, we've got about 325,000 of immediately pending loans. They haven't been brought here, but they're working through the pipeline. And I told them, look, I can give you all that money, but then I immediately need to close on another $1 million because I've got these loans coming. Or if you don't take it now, I can use that, close on these loans, and then we can take our time about getting me another
So it's
$1
all
million.
timing then, really.
Yeah.
You're gonna get the funds one way or the other. It's just if you have them now, you can loan.
I can keep it going.
Right.
And that's what it is. I can keep it going or we can start over.
We don't know what motivates them. They may need to see it paid back, and then if they lend again, oh, they get more bonus points.
Right, but it makes them look good because they're doing something.
In worst case, what are the interest rate?
The differential,
Yeah.
so we borrow at 1%, we lend at 4%.
Okay, but will that 1% continue in
Oh,
the
yeah.
agri-lending? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they had some.
Oh, no, it stays at 1 throughout.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, you wanna go through the loans, starting with?
I'm just trying to slow Glenn down a little bit. 'cause I know he's hurt.
Well, that's all right. Look, then that means all you can do later on is say yes. Because we won't have time for anything else.
There's only 1 mil on the list here.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh.
So 12 through 14, on the IDA side, you've heard about that. When this goes through, we will be made whole on those.
You think so?
Yes.
Because we didn't bid in bankruptcy court here, so.
Nope, this is according to our attorney and we're using, what's his name? Nick Franzen, Franzen, yeah. He's reviewed everything and you're gonna kick me for not having the terms right in my mind. But, we're in the priority that with everything that's going through, there should be like over $250,000 after we get paid.
Okay.
So, there's nobody there's several ahead of us, but after they're done, we're next, and then there's nothing.
What did he bid for the whole thing? 'Cause I didn't see that because he's also buying.
Because he's buying a lot of other
So it's
pieces.
Partial
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah, I know it, but I don't have it at my fingertips.
Yep. Number 18 is a new name to me.
Yeah, so he's the sandwich maker over in Davenport. He was, he had a sandwich, a caterer. What was his name? Elena's Catering.
Oh, yeah.
He's
This
the
was
surviving widow of Elena's
Other.
Catering.
Sure.
He was continuing that business.
Uh-huh.
And his real hook was he's connected in with the sports departments of the various colleges, and he's providing them with lunches and stuff. He had some issues with his account, his bank. He closed his bank account, and so he's rung up some charges, and we just gotta put the heat on him and remind him.
So he's still in business, still doing okay.
I don't know how much he's in business.
Yeah, okay. That's all right. Number 3, I'm figuring this is summer of 25.
Yeah, I think that would be safe to say right now.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions on the IDA loan report? All right, on to the LDC loan report.
Okay, number 8 is new to me. This one just popped up. I haven't honestly had the chance to follow up on it. Number 12, so they changed their accounts around, missed a couple payments. They are catching up now. Everything is fine. It was, yeah, it was one of those things that happens. Mhm. So number 13, yeah, I'm trying to move fast. Number 13, so we've been requested for the payoffs with that. An attorney we've dealt with in the past is representing the owner of that business, and he assures me, he said he couldn't say anything. He's like, it's real. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And-
optimistic.
Yes.
I hadn't expected that, so
Yes.
that's a good thing.
So that would be info, us and Sydney.
And you don't believe that we're gonna have to take a haircut, we're gonna get.
100%, dollar for
Okay.
dollar.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Number 28, Tad's been working on that. Number 36, he's 2 payments behind. He's usually only 1 behind. He's an annoyance, but he's good for it. And,
We're getting down to a pretty slow balance there too.
yes. Yeah. And it'll come down quickly. Okay.
52, still like the last one,
52, again, that one hit me out of the blue.
right?
That just showed up, when Tab gave me it. You know, yeah, we just made them a loan in 23, I think it was.
For me.
It says November of 23, so.
Yeah, 23, they did an expansion to add on, to their kitchen and stuff. They're a wedding venue out in Roxbury. They do very well. I've heard that, yeah, I know that a lot of places in the wedding industry, this was a bad year, next year's not gonna be much better. This was a surprise. I haven't had a chance to reach out to Casper yet, but I will.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on treasurer's reports? Hearing none. Mike, can I have a motion from you, please? Radio silence. He's on mute. I know. Mike doesn't make treasury reports.
There's
There
a
we
deer
go.
walk. He's got a deer walking in on
Yeah. You know, I gotta get another one of these Jack and Cokes here while you guys are offline.
him.
I make a motion we approve.
Oh, you made a motion? I think Mike made the motion. Chris, did you second that?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. On to item number 4, comptroller's report.
Okay, this is more or less just an FYI. The comptroller's office, decided that we are next in line for an IDA audit. In the board packet, I put a copy of the audit that they performed, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago on Shenango County IDA. So you can see the types of things that they're gonna be looking at. They're not necessarily looking at money, although they did say that if they find something wrong, you know, then they'll look at it. But this is, he said, yeah, right.
They're still a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he's still gonna be a pain and they're still gonna look at it, and he questioned whether the IDA can buy lunch or not.
What is
So
the-
today's lunch is being provided by the LDC.
Is it happening now or?
Oh, yeah, it's happening now.
It's
He said it's gonna be 3 to 6 months. Yes,
Wow.
yes. They come in depending,
Whenever
you know,
they feel.
once a week, 3 days a week, whenever they feel like it, come in, ask for stuff. Basically, if you look at the Shenango County audit, that's what they're gonna look at. They're gonna look at our website, if we're in compliance with that. And, you know, we are in substantial compliance. Nobody's perfect.
Substantial.
Yeah, and then he's gonna,
He's running on his 80-20 rule.
I'd say we're like 90% compliant. I think we're in a really good spot.
So when you look through this, did you see anything where you're like, ooh, you might get us on that if he sees the same thing?
I mean, look, he's gonna find something wrong.
Of
He
course.
has
You know, so, you know, I think, you know, there is one area, we don't post our meeting documents publicly. just because I've sought clarification in terms of what we need to put out there. And
That's come up before, we've talked about that. before.
yeah, and until I get that clarification, I'm not putting stuff out there that,
So some of the tracking things that he
I was
said
gonna ask
Shango
about the
was not
follow-up,
doing.
oh, yeah,
You're
so.
doing those well enough?
Well, to his, no, so here's what happens. So each year when we do our audit sends out, you know, the follow-up to the people. This is most relation to pilots. Sends out a sheet that they're supposed to fill out and send back to us regarding sales tax and you know, if they had any abatements, they're supposed to send us a sales tax report, a copy of it when they send it into the state, and they're supposed to give us information regarding their employees. Maybe 30% do that. The rest of them is follow up with phone calls from TAB. And so do we follow up and do we get the answers and do we provide the information? Absolutely. But can I hand him a form on each and every company that says, here's where they said it? No.
It sounds like there's some drill down they're looking for there, and not just get the report and accept it, it's get the report and then dig in. What, you don't do that, right? I mean, that would require additional resources and.
He's not providing us with a report for us
Right.
to then look at it. It looks like Shenango County got its hands
They
slapped on it.
got whacked for them.
Yes, so we will get something in relation to that.
Right, but they have to find out. When I was county budget director, they did it, and they wrote us up because the deputies took their police cars home, the cars home with them. And the whole point was that put the deputies all over the county with the equipment necessary to go and call. And they said that was giving away taxpayer money. You know, it was a stupid.
Make you 1099
I
them
just-
for.
Yeah, so they'll have similar language where we need to do a better job in monitoring. That's what it's gonna be. We need to do a better job in monitoring our projects.
I
And
just wonder
absolutely
resource-
we do.
resource
You know,
wise.
it's, you know, it is an area where we need to.
Use that to go to the county and get another employee.
I wanna fill the spot I have now.
And of course, you know, someone's gonna get it and make a big deal out of anything in it,
Potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
you know, so.
Yeah, but you know, it'll come out, it'll be a headline for a week, and it'll move on.
Less than that. Usually it's a day.
Yeah.
By the time the next paper comes around, it's done.
Well, it'll be in the Daily
that's
Star,
true.
and then several days later, it'll be in the Reporter. So,
Worse than our assessor's office in 2 years.
We'll continue to push the issue. So post it all over Facebook and every place else.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
just
But it's
so
not
you
gonna
know.
say we're doing, so I just wanna, we're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
Nobody's stealing money.
Right.
You know, do we need to tighten some things up? Yes, absolutely. We always do. And it's always just a matter of how much can we get done before we gotta jump to the next thing?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I've talked to them about. I'm like, you know, do you want us working or do you want us reporting on the work that we
You
do?
said that to the auditor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Why not?
no.
It's true.
He worked in private industry at one time. This guy had been with Berglio and Woods out of Oneonta. And he did a audit for one of my customers at the time, and man, he would drill into
Meticulous.
the last paperwork before I get the report. I'm like, I don't care whether it was
Must have been Rick.
11 cents.
Right.
Ah,
It must have been Rick.
no, it wasn't right.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Glenn on the comptroller's audit? Okay, Lactalis pilot.
Okay, so, Lactalis pilot, we held our hearing on Monday. I think I did put up the public hearing packet on there
Yes.
with the minutes of it. It was just me and a woman from, Lactalis who were there. Had a nice conversation. Everything's going well with there. So basically, we approved them for a pilot agreement back in, it was November or December of last year. We did a partial closing in January, and then we did the full closing in July, which for some of the bigger deals is, you know, especially with corporations, that's the way it works a lot. So basically, in that agreement, they were doing I'm gonna use round numbers because for whatever reason, I didn't include that in my write-up. They were doing around a $6 million project to modernize the facility, get it up to modern standards. Well, in the process of doing that, they're like, oh, we should do this, we should do this. And it came up to another $4.2 million. And they're just asking that we modify their existing pilot agreement, which related solely to sales tax, a sales tax abatement, which would be expiring in 25. They're just asking for an extension on that date to get all the way through 25 and into the first part of 26. Because the way they expend their money is they have to approve it ahead of time and then spend it. And in order to get that approval, this helps out with that.
So you need a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Very good. We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'm really happy that they're in there making improvements to that. We were so close to losing that.
Yes. And if we lost it, it would have been
It's
gone
an
forever.
excellent sign of commitment, so that's outstanding.
Yes, exactly.
That's a
And
good
they,
sign of commitment.
and they are moving forward and they've settled their grievance with the village and, everything's working out.
That's great.
Partially.
Yeah.
They have an EQ tank in, which is the first step. So they're making progress.
That's far from over.
Yes. Well, those things are never over.
They're fighting over the modern facility.
But the EQ tank will help them address a lot of the village's
Yeah, but
issues.
Cedarburg admitted that, well, never mind. Just leave that.
Okay, on to the Aiden Mining and Materials pilot and public hearing resolution that was in our packet.
Yes.
Mike, you wanna make that motion?
I would love to make the motion, and I have to ask you gentlemen, did you get the feeling from Walter Grigliano that we were in an adversarial position? I kind of thought we were really nice and we really want to go forward, and Walter seemed to think like, I don't know, I just got the impression that he was going to fight with us over something, and we don't want to fight about anything.
Yeah, he came from a perspective of him having to convince you guys about this.
Yeah.
I was clear with him from the beginning. When I first met with Nick, I'm like, Nick, yeah, we're gonna, with what's in the boundaries of what we can do, yeah, we're gonna support you. So, yeah.
But maybe they're used to fighting this with everybody.
Yeah, I think, he does all his work in, further downstate and everything
Yeah.
is contentious down there. He's used to fighting over everything.
And is he
Yeah,
is he
I
a
got that.
consultant that's representing the buyer? What was his relationship?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Was he a consultant representing the buyer? I wasn't real clear on that.
He's his attorney.
Attorney, okay,
Attorney for the buyer.
gotcha.
If Mike made the motion, right, Mike?
Mike made the
I would make a motion that we approve the pilot for Aiden Aggregates and Mining Minerals, whatever he calls himself today.
Their website looks pretty nice, but that's easy to do. Anybody know about their financial condition?
I can tell you what I've been told, but I don't have any papers or anything to prove this. He is, quote unquote, a very serious player.
Okay.
And I'm surprised that he's looking at this to do the dimensional stone, but then that's a new thing, right, for him. And yeah, he's sort of, from the impression I got from people who talked about him, he's a self-made man, originally from the Parksville area, where he came up pretty hard. And he's done the whole thing himself.
Yeah, it's good.
He's the right guy.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Walter had mentioned something, and I did read in part of the application where at some point they were wanting money from us.
Yeah,
The
that's,
number that's in here is 250,000, and I saw another one that said 500, so.
That's a-
I've had what, he mentioned that once, like 3 months ago. This is the second time he's mentioned it to me. That he hasn't asked for an
Formally
application.
asked for
He's,
it.
yeah, he'll still have to go through our application process, but yeah, he hasn't even requested the application, so.
You know, I figured they get.
Yeah, I mean, I'll
they would
remind
know,
him
yeah,
about
what
it.
They want.
Yeah,
That might be a placeholder for the expected building in 2025.
Right.
He's just floating that idea right now so that we're ready for it when they come.
Yes, that could be. I just completed a transaction where it was stalking horse in bankruptcy, and it does move really fast. I'm not sure how Walter thinks he can push it off, because I wasn't able to. Mine was a $14 million transaction. Okay, I guess Glenn is up with the Neolis report.
yeah. So Sheffield Estates, Lindsay, is there any way you can bring up that folder? So as I mentioned, the IDA purchased, what would it be?
Which one do you have?
The LDC sold to the IDA.
Oh, okay.
The Sheffield Estates property, in its entirety, obviously excluding the 4 townhomes that were constructed. Let's do the BLA first. Okay, so we're moving forward with cleaning this up and trying to end up with a developable site. So, yeah, right there.
Lindsay, is it possible to share that, or should we just pull it up on Drive?
Can you
Let me
share?
let me see.
That's higher level thought.
This is where it goes to.
I can get it up on Drive pretty quick. I don't understand what I'm looking at, Sean, but
Yeah.
There you go.
Share sound? No, share. Let's just put share.
Yeah.
There we go.
Guys, this is awesome.
That's.
We're never going back.
Perfect.
Okay, so the very bottom, so I'm gonna talk about this in stages, okay? Because that's just the easiest way, because we've got a couple processes to go through. So go all the way down to the bottom, please,
Where the buildings are.
below that.
Below
Okay, so down at the bottom, you'll see a small rectangle piece that's with those blue lines. That is currently part of Sheffield Estates, but the IDA had previously agreed to do a boundary line adjustment with the property owner below where he's got a business that he's looking to develop there. So that is going to be step 1. We're going to do a boundary line adjustment with them. Walton Depot LLC, I believe is the name. And they will have that. Then we will have the remainder of the property.
That's
So
no cost, no price.
no price.
Okay.
Yeah,
Straight up.
boundary line
Makes our
adjustment.
life easier, his life easier. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So along, the northern boundary line of it, or the top boundary line of it, that's really like a natural, dividing point between the lots. It's like,
Great change.
yeah, there's a slope and grade change, and also a drainage swale.
Conveyance.
Conveyance, yeah, a swale that handles stormwater, and then also there's a sewer connection down in the bottom right-hand corner of it as well. So it's non-buildable property for us anyways.
There's no right of ways or anything.
Nope. No. Okay, so Lindsay, you can get out of this one and go to the other file. Okay, so that's step 1, we're moving forward with that. Then the next step, yeah, that one. So then we're going forward with, and Sean will be happy to correct me on my wrong words, of whether we're doing a boundary line adjustment, a subdivision, or a re-subdivision, which is a new word I'd never heard of.
It's
a re-subdivision.
Okay.
Which is in essence, a starting over again subdivision.
All right.
of
Can-
the process.
So it puts everything back first and then subdivide.
Right.
Can I?
That's probably the wrong
In
nomenclature.
essence,
All
but
up
in essence,
to you.
yeah.
Okay.
With the exception of the privacy is separate.
All right. So can you guys see where the cursor is?
Yep.
On there, okay, so
Yep.
we're gonna have these 4 parcels. Here, why don't you,
Okay.
The townhouse question.
How about you stand up there and point and I'll.
I don't know if that works, does it?
I don't think they'll see you, will they?
Yeah, I don't think they'll see me, so
Oh, sorry, you're
make
talking
that
about
bigger.
the parcels
Zoom
on the
in.
bottom there.
Okay, all right,
Is that
so,
in the inset there?
Yeah.
yeah. How do you get rid
So
of
pull over the inset there. and you-
All right, so this property, so I'm not gonna name their names. So this is the property that the LDC retained ownership of and we were gonna list for sale. What we're gonna be doing here, currently these properties here only own the footprint of the building. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a no-cost boundary line adjustment with them. Where we are going to have them, actually have what you would consider a normal lot. They'll own their side yards, their backyard, and they'll own their portion of the road in front. What that will ultimately do is get us out of responsibility for snow clearing. So we're gonna do that with each of the 4 lots. The first property owner has already told me absolutely no, he's never gonna agree to it. But I've got a solution for that, that's fine. Number 2 is me and I'm fully on board with it. Number 3, we sent certified letters to all these people. Number 3 is a downstate woman from Long Island. I haven't heard from her. Number 4, those people are all excited about it. And we're meeting, not today, Monday afternoon to go over the logistics of it, to do that boundary line adjustment. So, or re-subdivision, whatever. That requires them to sign off on it. But so my.
No money, but out of LDC's hands.
Out of LDC's hands, and it's really just getting rid of the last remnants of the homeowners association, which was canceled before we acquired it. So my solution for this one here would number 1, so his current property line is that, and he doesn't want any more because he's afraid it's going to raise his taxes. So what I'm going to do is, if I can't reason with him, then all of this property surrounding his home and his backyard, we're going to boundary line adjustment to the piece of property that the LDC owns. And tough luck. When he goes to sell it and somebody says, I'm not buying that, well, then he can buy the property from whoever now owns 2 Tulip Lane. If we have to go there, I never really like to be a bad guy. But I'm okay with it. So then what that would leave is 2 lots. This one here, which on the map is denoted as lot 5. Well, I think now it's labeled proposed lot 1.
Right.
Okay. And this lot here. What we will be continuing to do is move forward with turning that lot essentially into a shovel-ready lot. Yes. Lot 1 will be a shovel-ready lot. We will present and get approval for a Sean, basically an exemplar, 29,000 square foot manufacturing building showing all the parking, everything like that. We will be also addressing, so it'll show all the truck access, how that's going to flow. It will address some of these, how do you move it? Move it down. There we go. Okay, so right now these, this is the sewer line here. That will remain and it'll be stubbed up for them to hook in. This part would be demised. Water,
Which way's the flow on that?
so basically it comes down into here, and then we're not entirely sure of the current path. We believe it just comes diagonally right down to here, but we would divert it to come this way and then down, yielding more developable property here. And so this will be converted into a shovel-ready lot. I previously presented the estimates on that. So it's gonna be about 53 or 56,000 in terms of engineering, surveying, and going through the site planning approval process, everything like that. The estimate for clearing, grubbing, tightening up some of the utilities is gonna be $120,000 roughly anticipated.
So we're less than 200,000 with a shovel ready.
Yeah. There is one issue that we'll have to address at some time, not necessarily now. I want to go up here now.
That includes the sewer relocation in that number.
Yeah. So what it doesn't include is up a little higher.
Costs incurred.
Up a little, right there. Now, up a little higher.
I think, or so. Back tax.
All right, well, anyways, right here, there may be a need to install a new water line. Now, let's just do what I can do here. There may be a need to install a new water line from this stub over to here, so it would potentially be available for a purchaser there. That would be something we would get a separate estimate for. I just want to throw it out there as a potential hiccup with the site. So that's kind of what the plan is for moving forward. Obviously, before I did anything with the water line extension, that would come back here for your approval, or,
The proposed second lot, the intent is to leave it that size.
Leave it, yeah, so there's a couple things, leave it that size. Yeah, so leave it that size, and once we sell lot 1, use that money to make lot 2 shovel ready, unless there's somebody who wants to buy it raw. And or portion of the lot 2 at the higher part where it becomes like a U shape, that might be if we need to do something better regarding access to this area. That could be a trade-off to get us our easement into a road. Yeah. So that's the plan for that. And then also several years ago, because it was Evan who did this, Evan was able to apply for an ARC grant for site development work for this property. Where I'm in the process now, I thought nothing happened for those year and a half. And I just assumed they had already taken it away. Well, they contacted me in September and were like, well, we would prefer if you could figure out a way to use it rather than to have to take the money back. So now we're in the process of submitting old reports that were missed and moving forward. And so if, we are successful in that, that would provide $25,000 to help offset our costs incurred for the engineering and surveying. So that would be half the cost there.
Any leads on a lot 1 purchaser at this point? I know you're way out there already looking.
Well, so the one person who I don't want to name, but we get our lunch from, is potentially interested. He'd rather be in Delhi, but plan C would potentially be there. Yeah. And then there is somebody else who is potentially interested. I just don't think we're gonna get there.
So you don't think there's any lack of people that would be interested in it?
It's still the number one thing that we don't have is a shovel-ready lot.
Right, and once we've got it, we can put it on our webpage and everything else.
And this is of such a size that it's not like, we're swinging for the fences. We're talking about a 30,000 square foot building. It's not like, it's millions of dollars and, this is, it's a nice size for our area, it's sustainable.
And we have the opportunity to make it larger if we need to, or smaller if we need to.
Absolutely. And it's out of flood.
Yes.
Right, but and it's got natural gas. Right, water and sewer,
It's also.
three-phase electricity there. So there's a lot of pluses to that piece of property.
Yeah.
You?
So that's where we are with, Sheffield.
On to sewer works and plug valves versus check valves.
Yes. Okay, so we've discussed the electric service issue down there regarding what they were being charged versus what they should be charged. So basically, they were being charged on the basis of using between 600 and 800 kilowatts per month for the operation of those pump stations, which is slightly less than what I use in the summer when I'm running my pool. So the true numbers come in on the bills, somewhere between the high 20s and mid 30,000 kilowatt hours per month. And we were waiting for an answer from our engineer until I decided to ask Google, and Google provided enough information for me that I'm confident in my estimation based on the horsepower and voltage and amps of the pump, what kilowatt hours would be. And I came up with 32,000 kilowatt hours per month. So I think that issue is resolved. We met with DCEC. I was planning to meet with the industries, but never heard back, which is not uncommon. So I just had Tabitha invoice them. And the one guy got back to me, he's like, what's this? I'm like, turn the page and look at page number 2. And he's like, oh, okay, I get it. And that was it. And he's going to submit it. And so I don't think there's any issue there. Because I laid out what the difference in kilowatt hours were. The one guy from Friesland was like, yeah, duh.
He needed you to explain it.
Yeah. So that's fine. So plug valve, check valve. So check valves are what prevent backflow into the pump. The plug valve is what separates the two pumps or the pump from the line that enables, it separates something from something else that normally enables the company to come in and just change out the check valve as it needs to be replaced, because that's a maintenance item, not a mechanical item. So they came to do the check valve, which is generally, I think it's around $3,600, and we just bill it to the industries and it's fine, nobody even questions it. But the plug valve was bad, so they wouldn't be able to do the project without shutting the industries down. So the plug valve is going to be like $8,900, the cost of which they're fine with, but it requires a shutdown of the plants for 6 hours-ish. Yes. And so Friesland has an EQ tank. They're like, that's no problem at all. Saputo doesn't. So we will have to bring in hauling. But Friesland's fine. They're on board with everything. Saputo's crickets. So just got to get back to them. They just have continual management issues. So yeah, so those are those. There won't be, ultimately they're all reimbursed by the industries, and I think the sewer works can cash flow everything.
Just that it sucks up so much of your time.
Yes.
Still, you learn in the process.
system.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's a sewer management.
Yeah.
Expert now.
Yeah, so
That's fair.
that ties into the next one, yes. 135 Delaware Avenue in Sydney, the former Kmart, or the former Kmart, because now there is another former
A
Kmart.
newer former.
Yes, so we own that and we share a sewer line with McDonald's as well as the other former entities in that now deserted thing. And so McDonald's was having backup issues into their building, which disconcertingly enough is not uncommon because of all the grease and stuff that is there, and they're getting jetted like 3 to 5 times a year. And yesterday I got to see some of the stuff that comes out, and I told Lindsay, you should not be eating at McDonald's.
I hope you know.
I don't,
Uh,
not very
Stuff
often.
from the food, not going into the food. The directions are opposite there. One would hope.
One would hope.
Check up, but.
Yeah, so anyway, there's an issue there, and the pipe is, I was talking to Scott, or who was I talking to? Yeah. So it's plastic sewer pipe of a non-normal dimension, which caused incredible headaches yesterday. And it's plastic on the outside, smooth plastic on the outside and inside. Inside is corrugated plastic. And so there was like a 15-foot section where the pipe had caved in on itself. And so we didn't know it was that big. So our hole kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right up to abutting against a gas main, a water main, and the telecommunications main. So we patched what we had and left it there. And so that repair is going to last somewhere between 3 months to 20 years. And yes, everything got filled back in, and yep, they were coming back today to jet out all the mud and stuff that did get put in there. So it'll be fine and operational and nobody the wiser. But the guy is going to, it is his recommendation. He's like, look, with this pipe and with how bad it is here, and how much there is in it, you really should do from the manhole on the street to the manhole in the parking lot. He's going to give us a price on it. He said it would be 3 days work. He didn't want to throw out a number. I think he was afraid he was going to scare me. I'm like, you can tell me whatever you want. That doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so in addition, during that,
we do split it with McDonald's. So
yes, so everything would be split with McDonald's.
There's always a catch when you're doing that work. There's always.
It's like Black Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So-
25 grand.
Well, so here's the catch. So we were very surprised when we started digging the hole and it immediately filled up. And come to find out that a lot of the stormwater from I-88 and the hill behind it have now infiltrating into this awesome sewer pipe that is probably broke, not just to the manhole, but all the way up to the hill. And all the stormwater is rushing down in to our sewer.
It's worked so much longer because
It keeps flushing. That's what the guy was saying. He's like, it just keeps.
There's a river down there someplace.
Yes. So now that's plugged, and so at the manhole,
but it's gonna run somewhere else.
It's gonna go
That's
somewhere
another
else.
problem.
yes.
Okay.
So that's where we are there. I don't know how much yesterday cost and what, the guy's going on vacation for a week. He's like, you'll have it when I get back. I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, I'm not gonna say yes right away anyway. But very nice outfit, JB Sewer and Septic out of Norwich. Very good guys. Yep.
They're good.
Really know their stuff. Yeah.
And have you worked on acquiring the other half of that or given up on that? Or-
So yes, the guy still believes it's worth somewhere between 1.3 and $3 million. You're gonna think I'm a horrible person, but he's in bad health. So
We are.
Well, bottom line is it's not worth 1.3 million.
Upset. Gordon.
yeah, we're not gonna buy it at the price he wants. And
that's
and look, tearing the buildings down there's a rumor that there may be something untold inside. The estimates are like $600,000 to tear the building down. That's just our part,
The whole thing?
Yes.
Or just yours, just the part you
just,
own?
just the part we own. So that part's a little bit bigger, so double it. Yeah. I need somebody there on a Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. Item 3 little eyes, do you want to go into an executive session to talk about that?
I don't think we need to, unless you want to.
No. I don't
Yeah,
think
so just an update on that, Tiberio Custom Meat, they're still interested in acquiring our 2-acre parcel down in Walton Industrial Park. There is a site meeting on Monday that I will be attending, with him and USDA. He got another new grant to help along with his project. So we'll be meeting with them to finalize the terms of the grant, which hopefully means he'll actually be moving forward at some point.
Just a question, have we ever suggested him ship this?
Yeah,
He
yes.
doesn't need that much space.
I think he's gonna need
Oh,
more
lot
space.
1.
Yeah, I think he's gonna need more space
He
in 2
needs more
acres. than
space
what's
in
got
2
now.
I don't know, his plans were allowed for expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I could mention it to him.
Just thinking.
We
like,
would be, I mean, the plan is, to have that ready early spring. You know.
Faster than he's ready.
Yeah, might be. Okay, yeah, that's not a
I
bad.
mean, that all his.
That's right, nice job.
The compliant, NEPA compliance was based on the site where it's at, but. Not the way
Oh, yeah.
for the funding, but not, couldn't go through the
Whatever.
process again, but.
And who knows, he may not be interested. Because the price is gonna be a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's not
He had a-
20,000 or whatever it was.
yeah.
I thought he hadn't acquired that from you yet,
No, not yet.
just the contract.
It's been like silent,
For years.
like nothing. We haven't not heard from
We've been talking
him.
about that in 6, 8 months, isn't it?
Yeah, he goes silent and then he's, yeah,
And then he's, apprenticeship meeting.
yeah. Let's just say he's doing his due diligence. Okay, and then the Hancock site study, which is my name for it, not what is on the actual contract. That was in your board packet. We had agreed to fund that along with, funding from economic development. So that was, 40,000 from the IDA, 5,000 from economic development, 2,500 from the town of Hancock, 2,500 from the village of Hancock. Beyond providing the money, the IDA's ongoing role will essentially be to provide administrative support for the contract and the future grant applications that will be made. And that's it, unless there's questions on that.
Timing of it,
What?
the timing of it,
Of
the study.
the study, yeah, by this spring, because there's gonna be the next round of New York Forward or Fast New York, I forget which one.
Fast.
Fast New York, yeah. So they're anticipating a spring application under, which I actually believe is not spring, it's more like February, March of 25. Yeah, is I think when the next round of Fast New York is expected to be.
Any old or new business to talk about? All right, hearing none, we can conclude the IDA portion of our meeting with a motion. So moved, and a second.
Second.
Okay, on to the LDC. We can open that meeting. And we'll seek an approval of the draft minutes
So moved.
in a
I'll
second.
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 Thank you. Any discussion about the minutes? Everybody noticed that Mike made a lot of them? So we can take another motion?
Make a motion.
Thanks, Mike. Hope you're enjoying that rum and coke.
Actually.
It was gold, yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I unmuted.
Thank you. We'll call it a second.
I'll second.
We did
I'll second.
take that away from Noel.
We did go through the treasurer's report, invoices and loan reports. Were there any questions on any of those? We saw all of Glenn's expenditures and income.
Yep, just the one other addition there is the credit card is, with our conversation with the auditor on the IDA side, we use the credit card on a very limited basis, usually for, lunch and stuff like that. He said, well, I don't think you can do that under the IDA, but you're more than capable, you can, because it's public money. He's like, but that's something you can do under the LBC. So I just like to apply for a credit card under the LBC.
Operator or debit card? Because I didn't debit card yesterday.
Oh,
So, done.
yeah,
Check.
yeah, but we were asking for their approval.
Oh, yes, we're asking for your approval.
So this is actually
Just
a debit card.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
not
debit
credit
card, not credit card, yes.
So that means Glenn can't spend any more money than what's in his account, as opposed to running up a balance that he has no way of knowing how he's gonna pay off.
Absolutely.
Perfect,
You
okay.
still want the debit card.
So he still wants
Yes.
to do it.
Okay,
Good man.
I'll move it.
Bruce moves it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
You got your debit card.
Coming in
All right.
as marked up below.
Yeah.
Is this the Lindsay report with the
No, the agri lending, that's what I mentioned about, that's still in limbo. We're waiting on their response to my proposals. Now we're into Lindsay time.
Now we're into Lindsay's loan
Right?
request for Delco.
And we need to go into executive session to talk about that?
Um,
Motion to go into executive session?
So
So
moved.
moved.
All got that one? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Let's go back to. So we have an application for an entity to borrow some funding through our RBEG #4 loan program. Do you want to say anything else about that? Okay, is there a motion to approve the loan for Delco Towing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I said what I said, but I'll second that motion.
Okay, and that second is with the contingencies that checks be payable to the entities being paid off as listed in the application.
To the business's accounts payable.
Yep.
Yes.
Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Any other old or new business?
So we've got the proposed amendment.
Right.
Yep, okay.
Did we need a vote on that Hancock thing?
So I was just gonna ask that
On
too.
which
Mike.
thing?
Did you need the
The
public?
study?
Oh, I was.
Oh, the study? No, we already committed to that last meeting.
Okey doke.
Okay, and we also had some proposed amendments to our bylaws for the local development corp. Those bylaws are presented here on our iPads. Any discussion on those? If there's not, if we could have a motion to adopt them?
I'll move to adopt the changes to the bylaws.
Yep, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, thanks, Bruce. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then do we have to set a date for the public hearing or anything?
No, so in the resolution, you authorized me to set the public hearing date.
Okay. We passed that resolution already or?
Yep.
In the
Yeah.
NDA.
All right.
Okay, if there's no other old or new business, I think we're adjourned.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn? Mike, can
I'll
you-
make a motion to adjourn.